I'm here today at Goodfellow Farm here in Northumberland, and we're going to go have a chat with John Goodfellow, the chap that runs it, and learn a little bit more about farming and the agricultural world. So let's go.
Hello, I'm John Goodfellow. I run Goodfellow Farming, which is a large mixed farming operation in mid-Northumberland. We have beef, sheep and a fair bit of arable ground. Get up there just before 7, and first job is a cup of tea and check the emails and bank accounts. And the weather, of course, because all decisions on the farm revolve around the weather. Harvest 2024 was a total disaster because of bad weather. When we're trying to sow the crops, it just kept raining and raining, and a lot of the crops we did sow failed. So now I'm looking at sheds that are half full of grain because of the poor weather. We've got quite a few lads work on the farm. During the summer the lads start 7:30. During the winter we start at 8 o'clock. There's quite often a bit of a discussion because of what's happened overnight or weather. We just have to adjust. I have a plan for the week on a daily basis to try and get the most out of the situation we've been given. I end up doing quite a lot of welding, fixing things. I love driving the combine. I do have a retired worker who comes back. And he probably does half of it and I do the other half. If I could, I'd be sitting on a combine all harvest. Currently we're in a bit of a lull between the end of harvest and the start of winter proper. So I've got less than half the cattle inside now. By next weekend, all the cattle will be inside. And there's kind of 2 to 3 hours feeding every day, bedding 3 days a week. So that's kind of 2 lads tied up with that.
How many people do you have employed here?
There's 14, a secretary in the office here and 13 lads outside and one sort of semi-retired shepherd as well, who comes in to just because he doesn't want to retire properly. About half of the sheep are shorn by outside contractors, and some of it is done ourselves. I prefer to do it all ourselves, but at that time of year we have silage contracting and stuff as well, so and I need some of the shepherds to come and help on that. I talk about the shepherds being shepherds and the cowmen being cowmen, but they're really all-rounders. Both the main shepherds on this farm do a lot of tractor work as well, and the cowman drives the quad tractor, so jack of all trades.
So over winter, what is the reason for putting the cattle, the sheep, the livestock inside rather than leaving them outside?
Well, the cattle particularly, because they're big, heavy things, when it gets wet, they would just sink in the mud, so and the grass has stopped growing. I
see, so they get like a bit of a hotel over the winter.
Yeah, absolutely, yes, yeah.
Love it.
We're a suckler herd, so we're just producing beef animals. They all calve during April. Again, that's designed through April so that as they calve, there's enough grass to turn them out onto fresh grass.
The grass is quite important then, obviously the time of year and things does really matter.
Yeah, all the dates for calving and lambing are designed around grass growth. So we try and calve and lamb as the grass is grown, so that when they go outside there's plenty for them to eat, and then they're out all summer as the grass grows, and then we bring them back in, the cattle back in when the grass has stopped growing, and we give them silage, which is conserved grass, through the winter.
So over the winter they get their little hotel. Throughout the spring they get to eat all the nice grass, and then when is the time that they get sent away to obviously become the beef on our plate?
These little chaps here, these will be born in April last year. By the time we get to sort of May, June this year, they'll be 600 kilos-ish in weight, so more than twice the size they are now. And that's when they get to the slaughter weight. We want to have them about 650 kilos, which will then kill out at 55-ish%, so it should be a 350 kilo carcass.
How much profit can you get from one of these cows when they're fully grown?
That's something I can't tell you now because I don't know what the price of beef will be. When they're finished, they're at about £1,700–1,800. Each, yeah. But we are feeding them, so it's costing a couple of pounds a day. So at the minute they're on silage because they've been used to eating grass outside. And over the next few weeks we'll change that diet into more of a cereal-based diet, which has got a lot more energy, which makes them grow a lot quicker. At the minute, as I was saying in November 2024, the price of beef is really quite good. It's better than it's been for a long time. And actually the price of corn is very low at the minute. So these will be producing a much better margin because I'm not spending as much feeding them every day. Do
you get attached to them? Do you like give them names and like think, oh, it is sad?
For the cows I do, because so the cows will hopefully keep from 10, 12 years, maybe more. And if they have a calf every year, you do get to remember. Cows have got characters. I find sheep just repetitive, they're all the same. Whereas cows, you do get to know them, and they're sort of quirky ones, some like to come and lick you and things like that. So yeah, you definitely get attached to the cows, the calves not so much so. And these are a native breed that have come from the hill farm. These are actually castrated males rather than bulls. So these are currently about 18 months old and probably won't get to the slaughter weight until 24 months old, which is the difference between having testicles and not. I would prefer to have males because they turn over quicker. We try and vaccinate, so our policy is very much try and prevent rather than cure. Almost extreme vaccination programs, so we're trying to cover everything they can get, we try and cover to avoid them getting it. So Aberdeen Angus, you can often get a 10 pence a kilo premium. Yeah. So at the minute, that's sort of a difference between £5.20 and £5.30 pounds per kilo. Yeah. So it's not that much different. We like to have a couple of breeds going, partly because we keep all our replacement cows are homebred, so we try and cross them between, so they're part Angus and part stabiliser. So we're sort of intercrossing all the time.
What's something that you've got to do every single day to look after them?
Feeding, making sure they have plenty feed, plenty clean straw to lie on, and clean water. That's the three basics that they need, that's really elementary management. There's an abattoir quite local, which we try and take them to, mainly because we can haul them ourselves, so there's less haulage cost, and they seem to give us a decent price. But on principle, if you can take them to your nearest abattoir, then there's less stress on everyone. We just had a Marks and Spencer's audit, so some of them will be going to Marks and Spencer's, but the company we supply deals with all the supermarkets. We sell at the abattoir and they take it from there, so we don't really know where they're going. So all these ones in this pen, they're all in calf now. We try and carve them at 2 years old. So in May, all of the females put through the pens and selected what we thought were the best natured and best looking animals, and then put them to the bull. Particularly go on nature, because we don't want to breed off anything that's wild. That's the first qualifying. If you're going to stay on and be a cow, you've got to be a nice cow. So in the next week, we'll scan them to find out if they are in calf. Hopefully they are. If they are in calf, then hopefully they'll have another 10 or 12 years living on the farm producing calves.
What happens to the calves? Do they then?
Then they just come join the beef herd.
And they'll be eaten?
Yeah. We're using bulls, which are very easy to. Their calves are easy to be born. The calves hopefully get up and suck within the first sort of 5 or 10 minutes of their life. Well, because I'm running kind of 8 main tractors, I should buy a new tractor every year, but I haven't done it for the last couple of years just because the money hasn't been there.
Find it hard to get funding for like all the farming and stuff? Like, there's any support that you can get?
The government are doing everything they can to avoid us making profit at the minute. So the government have been unbelievably cruel to us in the last few months. So I try and buy outright. I seem to be buying more second-hand equipment now.
What's your favourite machine?
That quad-track tractor is an unbelievably impressive machine. It's 620 horsepower, can pull 10 for a plough, no problem. Big discs for a 12-metre cultivator can do it. So this is our feed mixing shed. The shed sectioned off into bays. That's crushed beans, crushed oats there. There's maize there that we mix with wheat for pheasant feed. This machine is like a giant mixer wagon, like a Maggi mix you have in your house. My standard price for either lamb mix or beef mix is £270 a tonne.
Which is the huge pile? What's in this one?
So that is the wheat pile.
The wheat pile. That's actually not that good. That looks like a lot, but that's not.
Over 1,000 tonnes short where I'd like to be. Yeah, the politicians have been unbelievably cruel at the minute. I've met with my own MP and told him my concerns and worries. Policies for agriculture are insane in my view. You can get, as a farmer, I can get more money for not growing crops than I can grow crops. If I plant a wild bird mix or a clover mix and don't touch it for 3 years, how am I going to justify employees? I've had 3 of my landlords are taking land back to put these wild schemes in, basically rewilding. So I'm going to lose 1,000 acres of arable land because of that, which in reality means I should lose 2 employees. Why a government policy will pay you more to not work than work is beyond me. It's absolutely beyond me. It's wrong. It's totally wrong.
Do you find that obviously a lot of these things that you sell, so like the wheat, for example, that's quite an important thing because wheat makes flour.
Yeah.
Obviously, the government and all these different schemes coming into play make it difficult for you to be able to turn a profit on, you know, your crops and things. You've got farmers that do the vegetables and fruits. You've obviously got your livestock. Do you find that farming itself now is definitely on the downfall for you to be able to sell locally UK produced things?
The incentive to farm has disappeared because of government policy. because you can make more money by not farming, which
What will that mean for the UK?
The government foresee or have this opinion that we should be greener, so therefore we'll grow more clovers and more wildflowers for the birds and more trees. But I've never seen anyone eat a plate of bark before. You cannot eat a tree. So why politicians are pushing us to do that? And I could accept it if we were self-sufficient in all our food. But the reality is we're only 60% sufficient. So we're already importing 40% of our feed, of our food. With these policies, we're going to be importing 50 or 60% of our food. So that food is going elsewhere in the world, where all those green things that they're trying to achieve will not be done there. So, and it's still then going to be transported across the world. So surely it's better to grow food that we can do very well in our own country, on the doorstep.
You guys here can do a lot of stuff, like you've got precision farming and more sustainable, more eco-friendly by doing it here.
Yeah, well, as I say with the cattle, they're fed on grass just around the fields here. They get to the slaughter weights, they go to an abattoir, which is the closest where there is 15 miles away. And then it is then available to go to the supermarket. This year I'm going to lose a lot of money because of the bad harvest. I'll lose an awful lot of money. Whereas the 2 previous years are pretty good years. And upset my current issue at the minute, I've got a huge tax bill from 2023 and I can't pay it because the shed's half full.
And there's nothing you can do about that because it's way out of your control.
The kind government have increased interest rates on late payment for the tax now as well. So I've now got to pay 9% for late payment and I cannot pay it.
I think with farming, it's so out of your control. You're just trying to do a good thing, supporting obviously the UK with locally produced food, locally produced animals. But then the turnover's so low, what you could be getting. And then there's just so many things that are in place to make it a lot harder. And then they hit you with all the taxes and things, which makes it even harder again.
So these are the beans that have been dried. That machine there is for crushing the beans. That's homemade. I like engineering and inventing stuff, so that's one of my inventions, to crush the beans.
How does it work?
It's just an interlocking roller which came out of a forage harvester, which I acquired for nothing. And then it just runs it through a tractor. PTO drives it. Now we've got 2 electric ones that do the they do the barley and the oats.
How much land have you actually got in total?
The business is a bit of a complicated question, but it's more or less 7,000 acres altogether. Quite a lot of that's grassland, some of it's quite high hill ground, so it's not that productive. I've got 14 different landlords altogether.
What made you design the poacher block?
That's a good question. We had some gates, they were padlocks shut to stop people getting into the field. And I went there one day and someone had cut the padlock off and gone in the field and driven around, which obviously annoyed me. So I went back with a new padlock and found they'd stolen the gates. So I thought I'm going to try and solve some way of stopping this happening again and again. So I came up with the poacher block, which is a concrete block which a tractor can drive over, but cars and vans and things can't. So poacher block is a concrete block that has a reinforcing cage inside it, so it's very strong. So just put it in the gateway, and then you can drive over with the tractor. So it's got wide sections on each side, so you can have pretty wide tyres. And this centre bit is cut out for the pick of hitch of the tractor, so that the tractor can drive straight over it. Likewise, sprays and things like that.
Do you feel like having this as a bit of a business venture in itself with the farm is going to help you up your profits a little bit?
Interestingly, this is the only part of my business I know what margin I make on, because I've got no idea what I make on sheep, cattle or corn, because the prices change all the time and the input costs change all the time. Whereas I've got a factory make these, they charge me X for them, I sell them for Y. So it's the only thing I know in business what I'm doing.
So it's quite an important thing then. As a farmer, it's important to have kind of another revenue stream that's not just farming, so you can actually be able to pay your electricity bill at the end of the year.
Yeah, I like having it, but I probably don't put enough time and energy into marketing.
Is that because you find yourself on the farm a lot, having to deal with farm stuff and not...
certain times of year you're so focused on getting the crops in or calving cows or whatever it is, you've just got to forget about poacher block. And then suddenly in May or whatever, I think I've got a bit of time, I'll try and do some promotion.